Welcome to Human School. I'm Dr. Patil Armenian, and each episode I'll share some of my personal stories, interview inspiring people, and offer tools to help you with the mission of being a human on Earth. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Human School. Today we have on my favorite repeat guest, my sister, Garin Hussenjian.
Yay. Hi,
G.
We
And we
let's get
call
this
each other
started.
G and P. So welcome back.
Thank you. It's been a minute
Yeah, it's been a
or
hot
two.
minute. And by the way, I don't know if you know what a minute in Fresno slang means, but
What?
it's Fresno slang, and a minute can be an actual minute, or it could be a few seconds, or it could be a few weeks, or even a few years. You never know what someone means when they say a
Wow.
minute.
So it could be less than a minute or way, way, way more than an
Way
actual
more.
minute.
Like in the ER. Oh, how long has your elbow hurt? Oh, a minute. Oh, okay. And what is that?
Tell me more.
3 years. Okay.
Oh gosh.
So in the last episode, which I know you listened to, but I ended with the phrase creation is revolution.
Mm-hmm.
That our uncle told our cousin, and then our cousin told everyone else. And I've really been kind of marinating on this, especially I feel like now everything's really, it seems hard. Like we have stuff going on with our families and friends, and I have a really sick friend right now. And then of course the world, what are we gonna do? Like wallow in our misery? We have to create. So we're creating this podcast today.
Yeah, that's right. Getting out of ourselves to do something bigger, something different.
Yeah. And if we can help one person with a story, then you're that person. Great. Welcome.
I know. Thanks, person. Let us know who you are in the comments section.
I mean,
I hope one person resonates. Yeah, I'm
sure.
Hope.
We've all been through a lot and we're going through a lot. But again, like we have to try to have a little bit of fun and do the things that interests us. Show that to our kids, that you can be a good student and a good athlete and all the things, but also like do the things that are fun and that interest you and have a hobby. And I feel like this is one of the things I've been thinking about lately, that if you're privileged enough to be able to have a hobby and interest, and you're not just in survival mode, for example, in a war zone, or if you're in extreme poverty, but you have that privilege to have time for an interest, do it.
Wow. Yeah.
So I wanted to talk to you today about one of your interests, because I think following the things you're passionate about are really important. And you just got back from Japan, right?
Yes. It's been a week. I've been back in LA for a week. I just got back.
I'm sure the transition back has been rough.
It's been fine, but it's always a challenge. But I always feel sad when I leave Japan. Then I always think to myself, you will go back. Don't worry.
Yeah, I think we all have places like that on the planet that really resonate with us, that we really feel at home in. So how many times have you been to Japan?
I get asked that often when people start to realize that I'm super interested in Japan. They'll always say the basic question, how many times have you been there? And I have a hard time answering because I stopped counting a long time ago. I can say that I know I've been there over 20 times. And I think it's maybe around 25. But it's more than 20 because there's like some math I can do that I know that for sure. So it's been a bunch of times like that.
And do you always go with your family, or do you go alone or with friends?
I've been, my first ever trip which was in the year 2000. I went with a friend who was from Japan, and I went to Art Center with her. And she had said, "Hey, you should, you love Japan, you should come." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't even think to ever really go to Japan." And so we went. That was one time with a friend. I've gone alone. I've gone with Garo a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot.
That's her
We used to
husband.
go, yeah, my husband. We used to go every year for a while, even after the kids were born. And I've been going alone again. And I've recently, this most recent trip, I just met with another friend who is also from Japan. And this is the second time only in 26 years that I've gone to Japan with someone who is not my husband or kids and is the friend. Otherwise, I've gone alone also a bunch of times.
That's awesome. That's a real mix.
It's
You've
a
had
mix,
you've
yeah.
had all the different
Done it
experiences.
all. Uh-huh.
City, country, all of it.
City. Mm-hmm.
So, let's go way back then
Mm-hmm.
because
Okay.
what are your first memories of Japan or Japanese culture? Like, how do you think you even got interested in this culture in the first place?
I would love to tell you because I myself have asked that question to myself and have been answering that question because different people have asked me that over time. And I did a lot of thinking, and memories would pop up, and I would wonder, where was that? So, one of the first memories I have is of the Boston Children's Museum has a Japanese house, a traditional home that was rebuilt within the museum on the top floor, their third floor. I think it's the third floor. And that house was built pieces of wood put together by Japanese artisans. In 1975, they began the project. I've looked this up. It's still documented, very detailed, and a lot of photos of how this house was moved from Kyoto, which is Boston's sister city, to Boston and then to the Children's Museum. It was a huge project with a very big grand opening with the mayor of Kyoto and Boston all in attendance in 1978. So that was a place our grandma, P, Med's mama, used to take me to a lot. And one of my first experiences with Japan was that children's museum experience of walking into the Japanese house and really feeling like I understood where I was and knowing what to do. I would have been 5 or 6 when I first went, and I immediately just took my shoes off, walked into the tatami because it's a traditional house with the tatami, and that's what everyone does. And you walk around in your socks. And I didn't want to leave. Like, I literally did not want to leave. And so Mezlama would promise me, "I'm going to keep bringing you back."
Oh, you were like, I'm not leaving this house. This is my house. And you just knew I have to take my shoes off to go in.
Yeah. So she did take me back, and it was great. Like, I loved it. And actually, you know how museums do an exhibit, and then in the gift store, they always have something associated with whatever exhibits are happening in the museum at a
Oh,
time.
yeah. Don't even
Yeah,
get me started
like
on the awesomeness of museum gift shops.
I know. So in that gift shop, then they started bringing Japanese dolls. They're like little kokeshi dolls, which are traditionally made out of wood, but the ones they sold at the Children's Museum had actual hair and actual textiles for the clothing. So they weren't soft and fuzzy dolls like we're used to here. They are more of a like a ornamental doll that you can stand on a table. And she bought me 2 of those dolls, which I don't know where they are. They must be in mom's,
They're in
uh,
mom's garage. I'm sure they're
garage
in mom's
somewhere.
garage.
Yeah, for sure. So I cherish those dolls. Around the same time, interestingly, I had a Japanese friend who was enrolled in the everyday Armenian school that I went to in Boston, the AGBU school. And a Japanese family was in Boston from Japan. The dad was doing research at one of the universities in Boston. I actually don't know which one because I was in kindergarten at the time. And they wanted to put their daughter in a safe school that was very close to where they lived. And it happened to be that AGBU school was very close to their house, the walking distance. And so she got enrolled and started learning Armenian. And she and I became best friends like immediately. So at 5 in kinder, I already had a Japanese friend, which when I think about that now, I thought that was absolutely normal. And then now at my age, I've been asked so many times, how did you get interested in Japan? La la la. I'm so tired in a way of answering that question because I don't really have an answer. I don't have a solid answer. All I know is it always felt like it was a part of my life from these super young ages, like Japan. It was a non question. I always felt like I'm connected to Japan at 5, and that never went away. I would buy mom books about Japan for Mother's Day. At some point when I was a kid, I got confused thinking, I love Japan, and I think mom does too. So I have bought mom so many books. Like when I was 10, 11, I would go Mother's Day shopping and I would only buy pictorial books about Japan.
So that
Like
you
if you
could look
see
at them.
any, I guess so. I just assumed that that was the best gift.
You're like,
There was
mom
like
must be Japanese.
like something. I remember later in life being told by someone, not mom, a really good way to give gifts is when you think about what that person likes and you buy gifts for them based on what they are into. And I was like, oh, so maybe I shouldn't get mom all those books about Japan. But for some reason, I was convinced she also loved Japan as much as I did. She was
I bet
always
she
super
loved those
thankful.
books. I
Yeah,
will
those books.
ask
I
her.
have to go back to her house and look at those books.
All right,
Yeah,
mom,
so
circle
that
back with us.
lasted.
Let us know if you like those
Yeah,
books.
we have to know. So it was a thing that I always loved and that I never questioned. And I never knew about traveling like that when I was younger. I just thought, this is Japan. It's the Children's Museum, it's my friend, it's things like that. And I continued that passion for all of my life until I went to Japan for the first time in the year 2000. It was just always there. I always was like, where's the Japantown in this city? Or where's the Japanese market? Just, I love Japanese food. Oh, I want to know more about Japan. And there was no internet then. I mean,
No. I
it was the
remember
books, it
when,
was the library. Yeah.
yeah. Well, and then when we moved from Boston to LA, I remember I was really little, but growing up in LA, our mom would always take us on field trips basically
Yep.
to
We
different
called them
neighborhoods
field
in
trips.
LA. We called them
Yes.
field trips, and she would take us to Little Tokyo and
Yes.
Chinatown and Olvera Street and like
Yep.
the all the Armenian, all the different neighborhoods,
Hmm.
all the different cultural centers and museums. But we would go to Little Tokyo a lot.
I know. I loved it. Mom always says to me, I took you to Little Tokyo first. And I'm like, yes, you did, Mom.
Yeah.
You're number one. And you did it. And I love that. Yeah, that was probably the first time where I was in an environment where so many things were Japanese, other than being in Boston and going to the Children's Museum. Then I started realizing, oh my gosh, there are stores. Oh my goodness, there are restaurants. And what is happening? So I slowly began to be more aware because we grew up in an all Armenian environment, right? P, like we went
Yeah,
to Armenian schools, all our friends were Armenian. So there was no multicultural aspect to our lives until we graduated and went to college. Field
our
trips mom
it
did
was important.
were very important. It gave us a sense of LA as a whole, but it continued to foster my interest that there is more about Japan physically out there in the world than just the books I keep looking at.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now let's move forward a little
Mhm.
bit. You have had a lot of different jobs in your life. A true
Yeah.
manifesting generator. If you don't know what that
Yeah.
means, go back to my human design episode. Garin's totally like living out exactly her design. But
Classic man, Jen.
classic Manjan, our mom is the same. You guys have a lot of different interests. You've had a different, very different jobs in your lives. So you went to film school, you were in
Hmm.
film, and then you
Yeah.
transitioned. I mean, you did a lot of things, but then let's go to the part where you decided that you had been going to Japan and collecting stationery
Yes.
nonstop. And then you were like, for what? What am I doing with this? And then
Yeah.
what
Like
happened there?
stacks. I had had Mina at that point, our older kid, and Mina was actually, wait a minute, I was pregnant with Mina. That's
Yeah.
when this started. Yes. I hadn't had Mina yet, but I was pregnant. Okay, so I had stopped working intensely in film at that point. My jobs were more on and off, sporadic. I was producing. And Garo, who was web developing at that time, said to me, hey, I've just developed a new shopping and shopping cart platform for my clients, but I need to test this out before I roll it out. And I just want to put in perspective that the year is 2008 and shopping carts and
Yeah.
websites, these
There's
were
no
very new.
Shopify,
There's
nothing
no
like that.
Shopify. Yes.
You have to
You
write
go to a
code for
web
every
developer.
piece.
Exactly. You go to a web developer to brainstorm ideas, and then someone's writing code and doing the front end and the back end and all this stuff. So I said, you know what? It just came to me like instantly. He asked the question, and it's as if I was ready because he was going to ask that question. I knew my answer. I was like, you know what? I do want to sell something online. You can never find this cool Japanese stationery anywhere in the US. And it's awesome. It's fun. It's cute. And everyone should have this. And why don't we? So I said, let's build a stationery website. We had our dear friend Yasu, who is an award winning cinematographer now in
Emmy
the
award
actual
winning,
world,
literally the Emmys.
actual Hollywood, made it. Yeah, like we love him. So in the early days when I was producing and stuff like that, I had hired him for projects, and I came up with this idea to do a stationary website and asked Yasu, because who wouldn't think of this, to do all the photos for the initial launch of the website. And we did them all at our house, and it was super fun. I had one offs of stationery, unused, brand new collections that were totally could not have written that many letters to save my life, you know? So I thought, let me just sell it all. And we launched Ginkgo Papers with the stationery I had, and I started getting blog reviews, and I did a lot of promotion of Ginkgo Papers. I did a lot of marketing myself, is reaching out to a lot of bloggers at the time that would be interested and this was relevant to their platforms. And I started getting traction. So I was super excited about that. I was getting sales, and that became really a reason for me to continue to go to Japan. It wasn't even a reason. It was like what I told people to make it sound reasonable that I was going to Japan. That I would say, "Oh, I have a stationery company and I'm going to go to Japan to look at more stationery and talk to vendors." I started having vendors. I started to get North American exclusive agreements with different vendors who had never sold in America before. It became a legit business. I started doing trade shows, the New York Stationery Show, the California Gift Show, the New York Gift Show. So I was going to New York multiple times a year, doing wholesale. The business really grew. But what is really important is that I kept going to Japan. And it seemed like a reasonable thing to tell people. My passion was unreasonable. That's how I
Yeah.
felt.
But also, you managed to get in boardrooms with these
Yes,
giant paper goods and stationery companies as a
true.
woman and
As a
convince
woman,
them
which
that
was rare then.
you would be their exclusive North American agent, basically.
Yeah, I
Also,
mean,
little
did that.
known fact,
Mhm.
this is your big claim, one of your claims to fame, but you are the first person to import and sell washi tape in the United States. Everybody
That
think
is
about
true.
that for a second. You see washi tape, that paper, Japanese paper tape,
Hmm.
everywhere
Cute,
now,
designed.
everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
You were the first. And for a few
Hmm.
years, you were like the only washi tape vendor in North America.
Yes, that's 100% true. I was in Japan. The main manufacturer of the washi tape showed me this product and I was like, whoa, that's weird. What can you do with this tape? Like, I needed a demo, which, by the way, all of my clients later needed demos. No one understood what to do with this cute, colorful paper tape. And I put that up online on the website while I was still in Japan. I remember photographing the washi tape in our hotel room. So it actually had a really cute Japanese background, those initial photos. The tape got posted on someone's blog that we've been talking about this cool washi tape, and here is a US vendor. There was a really big blog post at the time, and she's still pretty big. She's transitioned to all the other social media platforms now. That thing got posted about. It went quote unquote viral because there was no social media back then, but it got a lot of hits. And the next morning, I wake up and it's sold out. And I have tons of emails saying, "When are you getting this back?" I had not even left Japan, went back to the vendor, said, "I'm like triple, quadrupling my order and just ship it." I was just upping the quantities on the back end of the website and it was continuously selling. We came home and put that washi tape tons in our suitcases and shipped more. Okay. Like, I just wanted to get those first orders out. And I remember as a mom helped, it was a huge family affair packing the washi tape, our first big orders. And at that point, Mina was born and she was like 11 months old or so and was playing. I have pictures where Mina's playing in the boxes that had just come from Japan, filled with tape, just boxes and boxes of this tape. And Mina kind of being lost in the mix of all the tape and us packing and getting those shipments out. And then soon after that, Family Circle, a magazine we grew up loving, mom would get it all the time, reached out to me and said, "We would love to feature the washi tape you sell to our audiences. And we'd like to do that on our Easter issue cover." So what they did is they used the washi tape to decorate Easter eggs. And so when you look at that issue, when you go to the cover credits, washi tape from Ginkgo Papers, which was the name of our company, and again, blew up. So we just had a continuous flow, and washi tape was like, I think, the big thing that took off. And then people became regular customers and bought all the rest of the stuff I would sell:
Yeah.
greeting cards, letter sets, post-it notes, stickers,
I still use
cute
all the
pencil bags,
notebooks.
notebooks. I know
Those are my notebooks.
those are your
Yeah.
notebooks.
The Cornell Method
So,
notebooks. Yeah.
yep, by Gakken.
That's
That
awesome.
business lasted 7 years, and I loved it. I loved it, but I also felt like the truth of it is it's really hard to make huge profits on stationery because the price per unit is low. And I didn't want to be the papyrus of greeting cards and charge $12 to $15 a greeting card retail.
Yeah.
That I thought was ridiculous. In hindsight, I can see there's also a market for that. And I do myself buy nice papyrus greeting cards now at times. But I didn't think that you could buy greeting cards and sell them for that high a price back then.
That wasn't happening back then. And
Yeah, that
honestly,
was
I
not
still
happening.
try to
No one
not get
wanted that.
those.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. In those years, I did travel a lot to see product live and in person.
Yeah. And once you transitioned out of that, you took another job. That was with the city of Beverly Hills. Did,
During that time, I was actually not able to go to Japan at all. And I worked for the city for 7 years. And in those 7 years, did not go to Japan. That was like the first really long stretch where I stopped going to Japan because I could not take a vacation long enough at that job. It was a very demanding job to even leave to go on a trip. Also, the kids were very young at that point. So we had two kids, both were young, and it was hard to get on a plane with two young kids to go all the way to Japan for a week,
yeah.
like less than a week. So it just didn't work out.
I actually didn't realize that time
Yeah,
period you didn't go.
not
And it's
once.
the kids were small, but
Hmm.
I do feel like it was that job because
Yeah,
just as an outside observer, I felt like that job was very time intensive and really sucked you in. And you were in that job when the COVID pandemic hit. And then
true.
next thing you know, you actually went from having semi normal working hours to just kind of being on 24/7.
24/7. It never changed after the pandemic. I think most of the people that were working for the city at a higher level, they went into a 24/7 expectation of being on. And that hasn't changed.
I feel like
That's unsustainable,
a
but
lot of
that's how it is now.
a lot of jobs have moved into that, and some of them are starting to move back out of that and kind of go towards more feasible hours, but a lot haven't. And you know what? I am not here for that. That actually really bothers me because I think people need distinct time off. You can't expect
Yes.
people to turn back on and work hard for you if you think they're going to be on all the time. You need to have time
Yeah,
off to be on.
completely agree. And I really burned out from that job, and that wasn't the right place for me. And it's really interesting because Japan has always been near and dear to my heart. It's not just a country, to me, it's a way of being. Actually, that's interesting to say that when I think of Japan, I don't think of a place as much as a feeling in my heart and in my spirit. And I guess I've never exactly articulated that ever. Let's just put it this way: I wasn't Japan anymore when I was doing that job.
You
And
weren't.
that is the core of how I am normally. I was like that before that job, and I'm more like that after that job. So it says a lot that I didn't go back to that country.
Not only were you not aligned with just the core of your nature, but towards the end, you left that job because you got breast cancer, and you
Yes,
did all of your treatments. And I know you tried to go back. You went
I
back for like
tried
a week, and
a
then you were
week.
like, nope.
No,
And that
this is
was a
not
very
for
good
me.
decision
Hmm.
that you
I think
realized
so.
that. And it's important in the healing process to really start listening to like your gut and your mind and where does your body feel comfortable. And that wasn't an environment you could have gone back into and remained healthy, because
No.
that's what we want, like for you to be healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I felt strongly that my cells, like my cellular level, had to start screaming at me that all of this that you think is right, that you're getting promotions, you're making money, you're doing well, and I say well in air quotes, but this is not right for you. And you are going to not make it. And we're trying to wake you up. This is the voice of my cells yelling, becoming cancerous, for me to pay attention, to change a direction, which is so hard to do. It took me to have cancer to be forced to take a pause with no intention of quitting my job. In fact, the job, getting back to work, was like my light at the end of the tunnel. I remember being so excited, but oh, on this day I'm going to go back. On UP or Garo and other people, even my doctor, are you sure? Is that too soon? You'll still be in radiation treatment at that time. No, but I'm going to go back because radiation treatment's not like chemo. I'm going to be stronger. I
No.
was wrong. I was so wrong.
And I think the first 2 rounds of chemo, you were still working. You
I
hadn't stopped
was.
working.
I actually went to 3 rounds of
Oh,
chemo,
3. Okay.
3 rounds of the hard, toxic chemo. And then my body got weak to the point where I was like, I don't think I can keep this up. I
Well,
thought I was going to work and have cancer. Actually, that's what I thought.
yeah.
So it
And look,
says a
there are
lot.
people that do that, but
Yeah.
it's up to like the individual and then what your work is and what you're doing and how you feel about it. And it's important to listen to your body when it's like, it's time for a little rest now.
And it says a lot that we just went over how primary to me being involved with Japanese people and things and culture has been since I was 5. And I went so often, and I started a business just to share my passion for the Japanese cute stationery that I still love to this day so much. And I did all of that. And then I started a job. And it's like, when someone gets into a relationship with a bad kind of person or the wrong person for them, and they stop talking to all their friends, and you're like, I haven't heard from them for a while. Is something wrong? Then you know something is wrong. So I stopped being involved with my passion, which was Japan. And that should have been like a sign, because I was starting to really change in many ways to be the person that let's say the city job wanted me to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then I didn't go back. So then I started to heal from cancer and put my life together. And on my 50th birthday, when I was still in my final rounds of my infusion treatments, we went to Japan as a family. And that was my first time back for, at that point, 8 years. And I didn't realize that I was weak, to the point where I didn't seem weak at home in my small environment. But when you go to Japan, like any travel you do, you walk a lot. And I was very weak. And so I couldn't walk as much. It was very hot in the summer. My birthday's in July. It was a difficult trip, but also as a family, we had a really fun time. So it was like a fun and exciting trip, but physically, I wasn't ready to be in Japan, but we enjoyed it nevertheless. That was my first time back.
You did go back to work for like 1 week and you were like, this isn't the right fit for me. And then you really just started following some more of your interests and hobbies that you never had the chance to do before. So,
Right.
what are some of those things? Tell us.
So I had always wanted to learn how to do ikebana, which is Japanese floral design. There are many different schools of ikebana, and the kind that I realized I like is called Ohara Ikebana. And it's a very traditional, the most traditional form of aesthetic. And you create little mini landscapes and you use different math principles and ratios and geometry. There's a lot to how you place flowers and at what height you cut flowers. And the goal is to not make the person viewing your final arrangement feel any of that. It's just to have a sense of beauty and aesthetic pleasure. That's it.
Harmony.
Harmony in the floral arrangement, right? And that you don't quite understand why it makes you feel good, but it just does. And there's a lot of work that goes into making of the arrangement and principles and things like that. And I was never great at math, but I'm like, damn, I'm doing geometry right now because it's like this is a triangle and this needs to be out 45 degrees. It's very specific. And you're like, how is this even going to look good by the time you're done? You're like, oh, wow, it really works. The geometry of beauty. When I first got married, in 2006, I did go take one Ikebana extension class at UCLA Extension, and I hated it. And the teacher was super mean. Later, I've come to learn that that style of Ikebana, which is called Sogetsu, which is a very modern, bold aesthetic style. We see a lot of those arrangements, which are really huge and vibrant, which are gorgeous to look at. And you see them in a lot of Japanese hotel entrances and even restaurants that can accommodate a large, bold flower arrangement. They're works of art. It's just not my personal style. And then I didn't take another Ikebana class until after cancer, found by chance the school that resonates more with me. And I've now been doing Ikebana for 2.5 years and I love it. I go every week to class and it's taught by a Japanese instructor. Most of the women who teach are Japanese, but there's a big organization here in LA. We do annual showings at the Arboretum and in Los Angeles. So it's a very active community and it's really fun to be amongst other people making flower arrangements every week and then getting to look at everyone's work. It's always amazing. We all get the same materials, use similar containers, are kind of doing the same style. There's many styles. We're all at different places in our studies. And then you see all these amazing varieties come about, and it's so fun. Brings me such joy to do that work. It's the making of the arrangement is the act. It's the art. It's like the doing.
Yeah.
And I always was a final product kind of person. And I feel like we hear that a lot in our culture, in American culture. Like, don't show me how the sausage gets made. Okay. Just show me the final product. It's rewiring that thinking now for me to be all about how are we making the sausage actually
The process is
the
important.
whole process. That's where it's at. That's where it is at. What is that process? And How are you doing it? Take the time and really think about where you're about to cut that stem. Where are you going to cut it? Think about it. And it's awesome. I never gave myself the time or had the time, like you said, the luxury of a passion. And I suck a lot of the time. I think to myself, this sucked. And then when it's finished, I'm like, actually, maybe it's not so bad. I'm learning constantly. I'm like a baby. That's how I feel. I feel like I don't know anything and I'm learning for the first time.
That's awesome,
Hmm.
G. And
Hmm.
I love all the things you make. They look great.
Thank you so much. You guys are like my best audience.
And now Ginkgo Papers has morphed into Ginkgo Gardens.
Yes, I rebranded it and it's on Instagram because I just love working with plants and flowers. I created my whole entire Japanese garden on my own in the backyard. It was a lot of work. It took actually 2 years to complete, and it's still a living garden. So it's a work in progress. As we all know, you have to maintain it. I got all these gardening books and I talked to a bunch of Japanese gardeners in LA, which we do have. We're lucky to have Japanese gardeners in LA. And the prices were very expensive to bring in a designer who has the Japanese knowledge and expertise to design a whole garden, even though the space is very small. And I thought, gosh, I've been to Japan enough. I've seen a lot of Japanese gardens. I'm not saying that it's easy, but let me buy some books and read about it because I'm not quite ready to spend a few $1,000s just for a rendering prior to any materials or work. It's like a few $1,000s for that. And that is the brainchild of someone's design skills. And I respect that. But I just wasn't ready to do that and make that financial commitment with someone. So I bought a bunch of books, reading about how to do it. And that took a year of reading. Let me just be very honest. A lot of the books just said, you have to till your own soil. If you don't know what soil you have, you won't know what to plant or how to work that area. And I never have tilled my own soil. You know me. I have a gardener. I ask my gardener, please do this, please do that. I like a beautiful garden, but tilling my soil, like, what are you talking about? But I did it. I
You have to get your
literally,
hands dirty.
literally, you have to get your hands dirty. I was just in that yard digging up the dirt and taking out rocks. It took me half a year of regular work to get that soil to a place where it could begin planting. And I love that I did that. And I'm so proud to share the garden now with people. And then I always add, I did this. I'm like shocked. They're like, "Oh, what do you mean?" I'm like, "No, literally, like everything you see here, I either planted, bought, and placed myself." Anyway, I'm talking a lot about this, but this is the principle behind what Ginkgo Gardens is all about for me. It's about really being attuned to the seasons, the natural environment, the beauty of both cut flowers, which is ikebana, and things that have roots, which is the garden,
Hmm.
and taking the time to nurture the aesthetic of these things. And that is Japan. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I use that as like a adjective, like that's Japan.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
And you've
And
also
then,
been learning tea
mhm,
ceremony.
yeah, it's been 1 year and 4 months that I've been learning tea ceremony. Japanese tea ceremony also has different schools like ikebana. And what I'm studying is the Urasenke school of tea ceremony. My ikebana teacher is actually also un urasenke sensei. And she casually mentioned to me once, would you like to also do tea ceremony? I was like, what is that? No, I don't think so. Me, up to that point, I had seen tea ceremony, revered tea ceremony, and been like, wow, whatever that is, which is a very ritualistic process of making a bowl of matcha tea in kimono on tatami, sitting in seiza, which is on your knees. I'll never do that. That is torture and crazy. Also, it's many, many steps. It's like just make your tea, you know what I mean? On the kitchen counter. I don't know what you're talking about. But I'll tell you why I did it. I was so curious. I said, do you have a tatami room? Because we do ikebana in her garage, which is very clean and nice. Please don't think I'm saying that in a bad way. But I had never been in her house. And she's like, oh yeah, I have a whole tea room in the back. And it's a tatami room. Oh, I was so curious because I always wanted to have a tatami room somewhere in my house one day. And I thought, okay, I will come to one tea class. And I was all alone and that day. And it was a terrible tea class. I remember I told you I fainted. I fainted because she dressed me in kimono, and kimono has many layers, guys. So I had never worn a kimono at that point. So she dressed me in the full kimono. I sat seiza, which is the P, what do you call the pose
Well,
in
in
yoga?
yoga, we call it hero's pose or hero
Hero's pose,
pose.
which I had never done up to that point. So I'm in kimono, sitting in the hero's pose, seiza, watching someone do tea ceremony, which takes time. It takes at least 20 minutes for someone who's fast and knowledgeable, just concentrating, making tea. That is, if anyone invites you to go to tea ceremony, know that the fast tea ceremony will be 20 minutes. And then if it's long, like mine, because I don't know what I'm doing and I'm learning, I could be there for an hour. Okay. And then if I have a classmate, it will be 2 hours. Anyway, I basically slumped down and I told her as I was fainting because I was so embarrassed that I was like ruining this moment. And I wanted to be so perfect, so proper. You know me. I want to be everything right on point. But I knew I was fainting. And I slowly, as I slumped to my elbow, trying to be very gentle
Real
as I faint,
casual about it.
I said to her, Sensei, I think I'm fainting. And then I literally fainted. The next thing I know, the next thing I know, she's not in front of me anymore. She had gotten me water. She was next to me, freaking out. Poor thing. And then I left her house, got in my car, called you immediately, told you what happened. And you were like, well, you're never going to go back and do that again, are you? And I was like, no way. 1 year and 4 months later, I'm like deep in tea ceremony. And by the way, P, I didn't get a chance to tell you this. While I was in Japan this last time, Sensa texted me that because I've been doing tea ceremony and progressing well, she's applying to the Urasenke school in Kyoto for my first and second level certification.
That's amazing, G.
I know.
Congrats.
I'm very
You went
excited.
from
She said
fainting to getting certified.
I'm in the process, and I hope to get up to when you complete all the levels and you can go to the teacher level, you get named your tea ceremony name. So I hope to
Oh,
have that one day, you know.
oh,
I'm
cool.
in. I'm in.
And you've been casually now teaching a few people.
I'm not going to say teaching, but I have casually been having tea ceremony at my house. I have a tatami room. The room, with my sense's help, is correctly configured for tea ceremony. The tatami have to be placed a certain way. I also have all the tea ceremony tools, many, I won't say all. I have enough to do multiple types of tea ceremony now. And I have a few people who come by and we have tea together, but we do it formally in the tea room, and we learn correctly how to make each other tea. And one day, when many years from now I become a teacher and have my teacher's credentials, I would love and be honored to teach tea ceremony. Like, I'm
That's
so
awesome. I mean,
into
you're
it.
like lighting up as you're talking about all this.
Yeah,
Like, this
am
is so
I?
exciting. Yeah.
Okay. Yay. I'm like so
And not to
pumped.
mention, you take language classes and kimono wearing
Yes,
classes and like everything.
right. And you know what? Tea ceremony is a very comprehensive umbrella of an environment. So when you go into tea ceremony, you're not just drinking tea, but you're wearing kimono and you're doing flower arrangements for the alcove, which is called the tokonoma, and you're hanging scrolls, which are all seasonal. And my ikebana plays into tea ceremony, and wearing kimono plays into tea ceremony. And the reason I started taking kimono classes is because I was like, well, I'm doing tea ceremony. We're dressing in kimono, but I can't spend hours before tea ceremony class to ask my teacher, who is such a kind person. She actually taught me how to wear kimono, but I wanted to be proficient at it because, that's, I guess, my style. So I started to take kimono classes with another woman here in LA, and I'm learning a lot about kimono. And I've been, I guess, doing that for a year. I didn't really realize it, but yeah, I've definitely been doing that for a little over a year, on and off.
That's great.
So
Do you feel like when you do tea
mhm.
ceremony that it's familiar to you? You're like, oh, I've done this before.
No,
It's
totally
like, so
not.
this one also, it's like you're like a baby learning.
Absolutely. I feel like after a certain class, I feel like, damn, I really got it. I think I got it. I'm going to really remember that next time. And then I don't know what happens, but I'll go to class, and my classmate, I have one classmate, and she and I talk about this a lot. It's like we just go blank. And then you walk into the tea room and you kind of know what to do, but every minute in your brain, you're like, what am I supposed to do next? Oh my God, what am I supposed to do next? And our teacher just calmly reminds us what we're supposed to do next. And it's frustrating sometimes. I really wish I could remember. And I do want to just have a caveat here to say there are so many varieties of tea ceremony, and our teacher is teaching us something different every time. So, right when you think you got it, the next time you go, you're like, oh, yes, I totally think I got it. And I even practice at home on my own. And then she will take out a totally different set of tools and be like, today, we're going to study tea ceremony in this wooden box, actually. And we're like, wait, what? And so it's like a whole new thing. And we learn something totally new, which is like left field. It's like there is no end to what can be learned. And I don't know how one person becomes the keeper of all that knowledge, but I had this epiphany when I went to Japan and just came back a week ago because I was invited to do tea ceremony at the small hotel that I'm staying at that I love. The woman who's 77, her and her husband own it. Her husband's parents started this little inn, and she does tea ceremony every morning. She's also an urasenke sensei, the school I'm from and I'm studying. And she does a casual tea ceremony at the hotel every morning. So the guests are welcome to join. And last year I stayed at that inn, and she noticed that I just knew a little bit. And I told her I have just started studying tea ceremony. At that point, it had been 3 months. And she said, okay, good. I see you know. I knew a few things. And this time, and she and I have kept in touch for a year, email and cards and things like that. And she knew I was coming back, so she was prepared, very excited to we were very excited to see each other. She invited me to her home where she has a beautiful traditional tea room, and she said, "Please come to my home. I would love to make tea together, have a tea ceremony together." And I was super excited and super nervous at the same time,
Of
because what
course.
that means is we're going to each have a chance to make tea for each other. And, like, do I even know what I'm doing? So I just want to say quickly, it was wonderful. And the reason was she showed me all her plaques, all her certificates. She has been given her tea name, which was so beautiful. She's an inspiration because she started studying tea at 60 and now she's 77.
Wow.
So I'm like a baby.
Then you're a
I'm like,
spring
yes,
chicken.
I'm way ahead of this game. So I saw that she made, and I'm going to use this word because I don't know what else I can say, but she made a lot of mistakes. And the tea ceremony was beautiful. And it was tea ceremony. And in that moment, I felt relieved because there are no mistakes in tea ceremony, and you just do your best with a good heart and a happy, good intention. And this is talked about in tea ceremony. It's your heart and your spirit. And when it's good and you mean well and you put love into that cup of tea, there is no mistake. Yeah, okay, maybe I held the piece of wood with my right hand slightly with my fingers touching, but I should have opened my left finger and blah, blah. I'm not joking. There are so many rules like that, but I didn't. And it doesn't matter. You don't stop and be like, I made a mistake. No, you just keep going. Like any performance, the show goes on. The show must go on, but you keep your heart in it. You don't suddenly be like, I messed this up and I suck and now I don't even want to make this tea. You just joyfully proceed. I cannot tell you what a lesson that's been for me. And just experiencing it, like last week, I was essentially doing tea ceremony with her. I felt so at ease when it was my turn. And I actually made a full on mistake to where I didn't open a lid when I should have, which I then realized I didn't because at the end, that lid should have been open so I could get water from there versus the other place you get water from, whatever. And I turned to the sensei and I laughed and I said, "Oh, I made a mistake and I never opened this lid." And she laughed and she said, "Oh, I knew that was going to happen at this moment, but that's okay. But I had made her tea already. So it was like learning. It's never going to be perfect. It actually is never ever. Even the most perfect tea ceremony you watch with the most knowledgeable people doing it, just by the sheer nature of humans and our human environment and random stuff happening in life, you just don't know what's going to happen. And I just let it go.
Yeah.
I just felt this feeling of all that weight fall off of me after like a year and 4 months of feeling pressure. Every time I did tea ceremony, I'd be anxious. I'd still want to do it, but I have a nervous feeling. And now I'm like, I care deeply and I want to learn so much, but I'm not afraid. I'm not approaching this fearfully. And that goes for life metaphor,
I mean,
life metaphor,
that you just,
human school,
that's it.
human school.
That's it. We have
Yeah,
it right there. I mean, I don't know what else to add, though. That was beautiful. And I completely agree.
yeah. Just go for it, every day, every time.
It's all we're doing. I don't think we can add on much more than that. That was beautiful. Thank you, G.
So, you know what I'm saying now when I say Japan? That's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah, I understand now. I'm glad
Yeah,
that we discussed this.
me too, because I never really got all this either.
All right. Well,
Thanks,
thanks
Dee.
everyone for listening.
Until next time, thank you.
Bye. Please like, subscribe, share, and download the podcast. And again, you can find us at Human School Podcast on Instagram. I'd like to thank Dr. Zach Effron for the theme music. And I'd just like to make a general disclaimer that any of the institutions I work for, including Community Regional Medical Center, UCSF Fresno, and American Ambulance, have nothing to do with any of my thoughts or opinions. And so we'll kindly leave them out of this. Thanks, everyone. See you next time.